one night. Oh wait, no, I just realised they read them in one night, not 24 hours. Good morning, friends. It is 7:43 in the morning. We are up bright and early today, and the reason for that is I am going to try and read the entire Penguin Complete Sherlock Holmes collection in 24 hours. Now, the motivation for this is that Phineas and Ferb episode where Candace and Stacey stay up all night reading the Sherlock Holmes books and then she goes psycho at Phineas and Ferb trying to be Sherlock Holmes. It's that plus this has been sitting on my shelf unread for years. Literally years. I got this for such a good price. I believe it was on offer in foils. I really want to read it. I just haven't got round to it. It's a big, floppy, small, lots of words on each page and they're small. It's one of those kind of books. So we're going to try and read it in 24 hours. The books in this collection are A Study in Scarlet, which I have already read, but I'll be rereading for today's purposes. The Sign of Four, The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, The Memoirs of Sherlock Holmes, The Return of Sherlock Holmes, The Hound of the Baskervilles, The Valley of Fear, His Last Bow, The Case Book of Sherlock Holmes. I did some research. These seem to be in chronological order, and I think these are most of Conan Doyle's works on Sherlock Holmes. I can't say for certain that they're all of them, but I think it's the majority of them. So there's 9 books here. It should be a challenge for 24 hours. Also, staying up for 24 hours is always a challenge for me. I am a in bed by 10:30 kind of person. So we are going to wait for 8 o'clock and then we're going to go. We're going to do 8 AM till 8 AM because I like to make things difficult for myself. See you in 15 minutes at 8 AM for the start of this reading challenge. Okay, so I am about halfway through A Study in Scarlet. I'm just about to start chapter 5. It's very fun. I really do love A Study in Scarlet. It's just exactly the same vibes as the BBC TV show. They managed to capture it perfectly. I'm not going to compare every single book to the BBC Sherlock Holmes TV show, but just this one is the one that I remember most. The comparison is just already there in my brain. I am reading this book quite slowly. Slower than I should be reading it, but that's okay. I'm really having a good time with it. It's really just such a good vibe. Exactly what I want today. So just gonna keep having fun with it, and I'm not gonna get too bogged down in like the times that I need to be meeting. It is now time for breakfast and a cup of tea because I am hungry. It's that time of day. I also need to pump myself full of caffeine today if I am to make it through these 24 hours. So let's pray for my anxiety tomorrow. I am in a weird mood today. I think it's the early morning. Caffeine probably isn't going to fix that, so we'll be in this weird mood all day. So I'm going to go eat and have a cup of tea, and I baked some cookies yesterday, so I'm going to enjoy those, and I will catch up with you when we are on to book 2. And I have finished A Study in Scarlet. I forgot that there's a weird section of this book that doesn't seem to have any relevance to the story at all, and that's kind of the issue that I've had with Sherlock Holmes in the past when I've attempted to read this book. It flows like a story, but then there's just random parts that don't fit in at all. I don't know if when I read the whole thing it will start to fit in. I have no choice but to read the whole thing today because I challenge myself. Yeah, that is one thing that kind of annoys me and does like break the flow of my reading quite a bit when we just jump to a perspective and a setting that I don't think is relevant. But I'm probably going to do some research into that tomorrow once I finish these books and actually maybe understand why these things have been chosen and what their relevance is, as I'm sure that there is a reason for it. I just need to do some research and then it will be much better. So I'm on to The Sign of Four now. It is like 9:57, so it's 10 o'clock. I'm very much on track. Just try to aim for 2 hours every book, and then I've got more than enough time if I need to run over. Anyway, I will see you in a couple of hours when I have finished The Sign of Four. So I finished The Sign of Four. Didn't like that one. Honestly, couldn't tell you what happened. Just know that someone was missing or died and then someone was receiving money. And couldn't tell you what happened. That one just felt boring. That one was not A Study in Scarlet level. To be honest, I'm not entirely sure that I'm going to enjoy The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, The Memoirs of Sherlock Holmes, or The Return of Sherlock Holmes. I think when we start to get into The Hound of the Baskervilles and The Valley of Fear is when I'm particularly going to enjoy enjoy it. However, we're going to read all of them today, that's the point. So yeah, I don't have anything to say about that one. I just didn't enjoy it. I had no clue what was going on. I ended up skim reading most of it. I'm probably going to go sit outside. It's very sunny today, so just go sit outside. I will read The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes and we'll see what happens. To be completely honest with you, I'm kind of confused about what is going on in these books. A Study in Scarlet made so much sense, but now it just kind of feels like we're jumping around all over the place. I think I need to do some research about these books because I just don't really understand what's going on. There doesn't seem to be like actual cases, which A Study in Scarlet was. It was just him working through one case like a normal crime novel, and the rest of them aren't like that. I think I'm gonna go upstairs and do some research because yeah, I'm just very confused. I don't think I'm gonna get very far in these books in terms of my enjoyment of them unless I research what the hell's going on. Okay, so I did some research about the book that I'm on now specifically. According to this is a collection of 12 short stories. It says the stories are collected in the same sequence which is not supported by any fictional chronology. So that's why they don't seem to be making sense. They're just like 20-page short stories. They're not supposed to be these huge mysteries. It's kind of just what started the fandom and like getting to know Sherlock's abilities, and then in the later novels you get to go like more in depth into Sherlock's character. So that makes sense. Well guys, it is 1:40 in the afternoon. So much time has passed and I'm making progress, but when you look at how much I've read compared to how much I haven't read, and the fact that I have actually read so many of these stories today, I'm beginning to worry that this might not be possible. I'm not giving up, we're still gonna go at this as hard as we can. I also don't want to like rush through the stories to the point where I'm not reading them, so I need to find that balance of reading quickly but also taking in what I'm reading. After I did that research about how these stories should be read and just more research into their publication, they have started to make a lot more sense. So The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, The Return of Sherlock Holmes, and The Memoirs of Sherlock Holmes are all a collection of short stories that were published in magazines, which makes sense for the time. In fact, a lot of classic works were published in magazines, so it makes complete sense now that they have no chronological order, they don't follow one from each other, they all just exist within their own space and time. Knowing that has made it so much easier to read. I definitely recommend doing your research before you take on Sherlock Holmes, otherwise it can be a bit confusing. I will say that Sherlock Holmes is a little bit overpowered. He does find these cases way too easy sometimes, and I don't always find the conclusions satisfying or to wrap up nicely. I think they're very idealised in a lot of cases, but also having done that research, I know that in The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, Arthur Conan Doyle was trying to create a reflection upon society, so every short story within The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes is reflecting on an issue that Conan Doyle finds in society. It makes sense when you know that as to why some of them aren't these huge cases with lots of twists and turns, you know, they're just short stories that are supposed to be a reflection on society. I'm not all the way through The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes yet. The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, The Memoirs, and The Return are going to take me a very long time. I reckon I probably won't finish those until the early hours of the morning, and then it will be hardcore on the other like short novels in this book. So far of The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, A Case of Identity is my favourite so far. It's about a young girl and her betrothed goes missing. Her stepfather and her mother don't particularly want her investigating it or going to anyone to investigate it, but she goes to Sherlock Holmes anyway. That was just a really fun one to read. Also particularly like The Man with the Twisted Lip. I just finished that one now. I like that one because in that story Sherlock is not massively overpowered. He actually does struggle with this case, and we see him like getting it wrong and being surprised by some of the events that happen. He didn't just predict them or know it was going to happen, which is nice to see, because in a lot of these short stories Sherlock's just gotten it instantly and it's just been a case of him explaining it to Watson the entire time. So it was quite nice to see a process of figuring it out. Still have a very, very long way to go. It's very daunting to look at it like this. I kind of wish I had the separate books. This dog is just sitting staring at me. I'm just reading. He's just, what? Oh, okay. Did we give up there, Denzel? Hello, friends. It is now 7:30, and I am about halfway through this big book. I'm about 10 pages off being exactly halfway through. So, 8 p.m. will be the 12-hour mark, the halfway mark. I'm halfway through the book. We're on track. I did end up having to get rid of my whole a book every 2 hours thing because these 3 books in the middle are huge. That plan didn't really work out, but it's fine. We're still on track in terms of meeting the halfway mark and stuff. I will say at this point I have lost interest in the stories. I'm kind of not really taking them in anymore. So I'm gonna go get dinner and watch a couple episodes of Modern Family, relax my brain a bit so I can go back into it with renewed vigour, because if I keep reading the way I'm reading, there's no way I'm going to finish in time because I'm just not really reading. The cliffhanger at the end of Memoirs of Sherlock Holmes, wow. Wow, it is like the 18th century infernal devices. I can just imagine like living your best 18th century life reading the Memoirs of Sherlock Holmes. It's just dropped. You are anxiously awaiting the sequel to The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. You get to the end of it and cliffhanger, and you don't even know that there's going to be a return of Sherlock Holmes. That is just, it's top tier literature really. I really enjoyed that, and I really enjoyed the beginning of the return of Sherlock Holmes. However, now that we're just back into exactly the same format that the other 2 books have been in, which is just 20 pages of a short mystery which doesn't take many dramatic twists or turns, it's a little bit boring. I don't think these are meant to be read in one day. Candace and Stacey didn't quit, so neither will I. Okay, it is 8:30 now, so I've had about an hour off, and now that I've taken time off, I must say I really don't want to pick this up again. A challenge is a challenge. It's not supposed to be easy. I'm so tired already. It is 20 to 11 and I finally finished The Return of Sherlock Holmes. So I think I've covered the 3 big ones in the section. I have this much left to read, but that is 4 novels. So I have 4 novels to read by 8 AM. I'm so tired already. I'm so tired. If I'm talking quietly, it's because everyone in my house is sleeping. I'm gonna go take my makeup off, do my skincare routine, get ready for bed, settle in for the long night of reading ahead. I do think the next 4 novels will be easier to get through because they're all individual novels rather than a series of short stories that all follow exactly the same layout. I can't say that I particularly enjoyed The Return of Sherlock Holmes. I enjoyed the beginning. The rest of it was just all samey. At this point I can't really tell you what each individual story is because they're all blurring into one, and they all follow exactly the same premise really. So I'm excited to start The Hound of the Baskervilles though. When I was doing my research earlier, a lot of sites were saying that this is widely accepted to be Conan Doyle's best Sherlock Holmes novel. Gonna go get ready for bed and get into it. Okay, I am completely barefaced and in my comfiest pyjamas to just relax in for the rest of the night. I've got my essential oil diffuser on over here. I love that thing, honestly. Candles are bad for you, don't use candles. Essential oils on the other hand are amazing. I really recommend them. I will say, straight off the bat, The Hound of the Baskervilles is already more gripping and interesting than the short stories were, so at least this one should be easier to read. Update. I'm so tired. I'm not hearing words anymore. I'm watching a YouTube video. I just have a playlist playing in the background. I can no longer make out words. It's only like midnight. Why am I a grandma? This is like prime time for people my age, but I am so tired. I feel like this. 2 more books to go. Just 2 more to go. It is 3 in the morning. And I did it. I finished it. Oh my god, I didn't think this would be possible. I'll do like a proper wrap up in the morning because my brain is just, it's gone. don't have a braid right now. I just wanted to pop in, let you guys know that I finished it, that it's 3 in the morning, so this took me 19 hours, I believe. So, you know, what Candace and Stacey did in that episode of Phineas and Ferb is possible, you know, they achieved it, you can too. Although I kind of cheated because I skim read the last book, which is the case book of Sherlock Holmes. It's the last 150 pages, skim read it. It went back to the whole short story disjointed narrative thing. At 3 o'clock in the morning, my brain said no. Well, it is now morning time. As you saw from the last clip, I finished this behemoth of a book at about 3 AM last night. So 1,122 pages I read well within the 24 hours, even though I did skim some of it. But it's fine. Skimming is still reading. Okay, it's not like I just skipped it, so it's fine. This is not a bind-up I recommend. Like, it's pretty and I like that I have all of them in one place, but I just think I would have had so much more pleasure from reading them if they were separate books. Even though it would have been exactly the same amount of pages, exactly the same stories, just having something to pick up and put down throughout the night would have been a lot more motivating and fun to read other than this. I'm also not a huge fan of the order these books are in, and I think I've decided I want to do a guide to Sherlock Holmes video because there's so much information out there, and I think knowing the history of the books before you read them really makes a difference. Let me know down below if that's something you're interested in seeing. I can 110% see why The Hound of the Baskervilles is seen as everyone's favourite. I think A Study in Scarlet is my favourite at the moment, but that was the first one I read. I was going into it fresh. So we'll see. These are 150% not books that are meant to be binge read. I mean, I don't think any book is published with the intention of someone reading all of them in 24 hours, but these ones get so repetitive. The Hound of the Baskervilles was the most interesting one for me to read because it is very clearly emulating the Gothic literature that was being published at the time. Victorian literature, I would say it's most famous for the Gothic genre that was born from the 19th and early 20th century. So The Hound of the Baskervilles, using these really key tropes like a moors setting, the use of letters and diary entries to convey creepy stuff that's happening, it was really emulating the works that was also being published at the time, which I liked. I did really enjoy it. But all in all, we know Candace and Stacey did it. They actually did read all of the Sherlock Holmes in one night. Oh wait, no, I just realised they read them in one night, not 24 hours. I'm not doing that challenge. Anyway guys, thank you very much for watching this video. A lot of work and energy went into producing it, so thank you very much for watching. Please give me a like and a comment if you made it this far and you enjoyed it and you want to see me do any more 24-hour challenges. Right now I feel like I could never do one again, but give me a few weeks and I'll be chomping at the bit to do one. Do let me know what you think, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!